There's a reason that New Mexico is called the Land of Enchantment, and we found an enchanting area just north of Las Cruces in southern New Mexico. Today we're going to take you to a beautiful desert state park that's right along the Rio Grande River. We're also going to take a hike in an unusual slot canyon, have some wine at a boutique winery, and check out the ruins of a very important fort on this episode of Roaming with Rosie. Just 20 miles north of Interstate 10, as it passes through Las Cruces, New Mexico, lies Radium Springs. There's not a lot of reasons why you would have heard of it, but there's a lot of reasons to spend some quality camping time there. Enough reasons that New Mexico chose this area to establish Leasburg Dam State Park right along the Rio Grande River, which is redundant to say since Rio is Spanish for river. Our friends from Quartzsite, Mike and Lois, camped there on their return east this spring, which was a perfect excuse to meet up with them and check out the nearby Slot Canyon Trail. Leasburg Slot Canyon is located in Robledo Mountains Wilderness area, and it features an easy-to-access slot canyon that's unique from other more famous slot canyons, as the walls have not been completely smoothed yet from the rushing waters that carved it. This trail is a perfect day hike that's a relatively easy 2.5-mile loop. We found this trail to be easy to moderate with a little bit of climbing. Always check weather conditions and include nearby mountains before attempting this trail, as there can be flash floods that are powerful enough to have carved out this canyon. There's links in the video description with details on where to find the trailhead for this hike. Leasburg Dam, constructed in 1908, was constructed not to hold back the flow of the Rio Grande River, but to instead divert it into a system of canals for use by nearby farms. The park offers concerts under the stars, ranger-guided walks, picnicking, and birdwatching. Although the river flow allows for fishing, canoeing, and kayaking in the Rio Grande, it's controlled farther north of here by Elephant Butte Dam. Leasburg Dam State Park offers year-round camping at just $14 per night for electric, both 30 and 50 amp, and $10 without. All sites have water. There's a link in the description below for reservations and more information. Water is typically released from mid-May to July. However, summer monsoon season can keep water in the river for a bit longer each year. We love kayaking, and we were excited to test out the river. Just south of this state park is actually the point at which the river becomes pretty dirty, with mounds of eerie brown foam accompanying us along.
So all that foam is what's in this water. It's not clear anywhere. I'm just going to assume it's from chemicals, from farm runoff.
We've been told that up towards Elephant Butte State Park is where it is still a beautiful sight to enjoy, and we'll have to put that on our list of things to do. The small town of Radium Springs is located between New Mexico 185, west of the Rio Grande, and Interstate 25 running north and south. This is where you'll find Fort Selden State Monument and the ruins of a 19th century Army outpost, Fort Selden. Built in 1865 by troops from Albuquerque, the entire post was constructed of adobe blocks with the exception of the administration building. The fort was established in an effort to bring peace to the south central region of present-day New Mexico. The intent was to protect settlers and travelers from the indigenous Apaches who were protecting their own settlements and their own ways. Several of the units stationed at the fort were black troopers. They came to be known as Buffalo Soldiers. Between 1866 and 1891, 400 African American soldiers served at Fort Selden, and another 600 passed en route to new stations or to prepare for scouting missions. A young Douglas MacArthur called the fort home while his father was post commander in the late 1880s. By 1890, criminals and raiding parties were no longer considered a threat as hostilities, and like many small forts in the Southwest, the government decommissioned it and it was abandoned in 1891. Today, the stark adobe brick walls of the frontier past are all that remain, where formerly barracks and homes to officers and their families lived.
So they were 4-room homes. So you had a central living quarters, and then you had two bedrooms, and then like a kitchenette, like a small kitchen. They had their own latrine. They had a front and backyard. So it was significantly, better living conditions. Believe it or not, during the entire existence of the fort's occupation, or at the time that it was open, it never met military standards. So it was pretty tough living out here. So the problem is, you have all this standing water, and then the walls themselves actually act as a wick, so they just soak it up, and then you get a lot of falls. So that's something that we're also dealing with. Hopefully this fall, we're gonna have a workshop where we address a lot of the preservation. Give our pictures. We actually have
visitor center offers exhibits on frontier and military life, and living history demonstrations are occasionally offered on weekends. There's links in the video description for more information. A site that might surprise a visitor to New Mexico is Vineyards, and directly across the road from the fort is Fort Selden Winery. New Mexico is the original wine country. They say that viticulture started here a full 140 years before California planted its first vine. This petite vineyard and winery was carved out of the desert in 2005 by Franklin and Desiree Simon, after they immigrated from Holland to live this dream. On May 5, 2005, the desert had been turned to rich farmland, and the very first vines were planted by the family. They weren't aiming for profit with such a small property, and they do make the wine with all of their own grapes grown right here. It's still a family operation today, and friends and volunteers are recruited in the late summer for harvest. Early summer is the off-season in southern New Mexico, and the family is focused on growing the grapes. That day that we arrived, they had just spent the early hours protecting the ripening grapes from birds by covering all of the vines on the property as the temps warmed to 100 degrees. But we had a marvelous visit with Franklin while I did some wine tasting. And we appreciated that he still had enough energy to take the time to make us feel welcome and share his experiences here.
And she was born from?
One of those nets, which is 245 feet long, was straight up in the air. Just one part at the edge was still connected to the ground. Black Monaca, so it's an edible grape. And they're not really big. You can make them grow bigger, but then you have to use growing hormones.
Oh.
Hey roamers, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Roaming with Rosie. For more information regarding this video, please check out the links in the video description below,
as well as products and equipment we use and recommend. We sometimes do receive a small commission when you use our links for purchases, which is a great way at no additional cost to you to help offset some of our production costs. Thank you so much for watching and sharing our videos and subscribing to Roaming with Rosie. We'd love to hear from you and encourage your comments and questions. Until next time, see ya!